What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Foxhound Finance, where we analyze the stock market using technical analysis. Please understand that I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing in my videos is financial advice. Please do your own research and buy what you want to buy. All right, guys, it has been approximately 1 week since I last updated you guys on the AMC situation. And again, we're going to just be covering purely IWM and AMC, at least until we get this initial breakout stage over with, okay? So Unity, Rivian, Doge, all the other small caps, I will still be covering them at a later point, but there's not much right now happening with those as they are retracing and testing, okay? They're confirming their initial breakout zones, and then I believe when that is over, you will have that next phase, okay? That next part of the progression of those stocks, okay? But right now, I'm focusing the attention on AMC today, and we're going to cover everything that I went over last video, where I go over the structure of our trend lines, updated candle position over the last week. We're going to cover all the indicators, okay? So let's just jump in right now looking at the IWM, all right? And this will be very quick, guys, because again, I told you that IWM is in this ascending triangle, right? Ascending wedge pattern, right? And you just see this thing melting up steadily, right? And we did have the breakthrough outside of this triangle pattern here, okay? And what I told you last video, essentially, right, is when you have these wedge pattern breakouts, at some point, typically, okay, not all the time, you will come down and test this area. Now, I was quite surprised to see that we still push through. And why I say that is because the pivot point situation, right? I told you guys that typically when you press through R1, R2, and you get up to R3, you know, you'll test this resistance right here. And I think we were at these two candles right here. As a matter of fact, I saw these two candles here together, and I said, man, it was a rejection, and then you saw the pullback here, especially with this wick here. So to see that this actually shot up, you know, given there's a lot of commotion and chaos in the market and the political realm as well, that does cause this volatility and sort of the algo breaking sequences, right, where things can push beyond the normal parameters. All right, let's just take that with a grain of salt, but still, it got past R3 just slightly, and then you saw this giant red bar coming down here, all right? So it did not actually test. I thought it was going to come down here and start testing it, but again, we got that disruption, I think, in this entire sequence here. Still got some push through, right? And that was coming from 262 up to 272 almost, all right? And then we just pulled back down to 264. So we could still see this follow through right here. And if you look at the RSI real quick, you'll see right here, it was overheated as well. That's why I said that combination of being near R3 rejection right here, and then you were melting up here in the overbought zone, kind of signaled that there was going to be some kind of pullback. So the fact that we got this move to push through was pretty funny to me. But again, you got this big red bar here on the right that deleted pretty much the move, essentially, right? Matched it. So we'll see if this continues to trickle down and test this. If not, I think at some point, this could be your, you know, pullback zone or sell-off zone, crash zone, whatever people call it. This will be a line that it could return to in the future, right? Before it continues back up in a new trend. So we'll watch this line going forward, but I just wanted to share that with you for the IWM because, again, AMC's in it, GME's in it. All the small caps are in that basket, and it's essential to understand exactly how that impacts those smaller cap stocks, right? Though if the overall IWM basket is doing well, then those are going to do well, right? So you guys get the point. So looking at the daily real quick, let's go over my structure here, okay? And I'm not going to go in detail. Like I said, guys, go back to the last couple of videos. I break this entire structure. All the range is down, okay? So you got to get up to speed with us. Watch my last two videos, all right? If you guys are new, please go back and do that so you guys understand what's going on here. But again, here is our three resistance zones, right? Starting from the top, second level, third level. These are descending resistance lines that price action has been historically trapped under, all right? And I got them all labeled out here, guys. I already explained this in the last video, like I said, so I don't want to spend a ton of time breaking down the structure. But you guys get the picture. You can see where the price action is inside of this channel, right? I have this channel tool where I drew this entire range up here from the 408 all the way down to our new macro low, all right? And you can just see price action is fighting. It is trapped under the 1188 resistance trend line here and our 556, which it has been trapped under to now for over a year, right? So this breaks down. It cannot break through this red line, 1188 or the 556, right? Couple attempts at it, but it just can't get through. All right, so what are we looking at here now in this pocket range as this broke down to the new all-time low, 144. All right, we got the vicious bounce up, right? Kind of going V-shape right here, okay? But what did we see once again? This is our 1188 line. This is not our 556 downtrending resistance line. So this 1188, again, it rejected, popped down. We got some consolidation sideways. And I told you guys, just look at this. I didn't even update these charts. Like, these are locked. Like, if I go here, I keep these locked, right? I had to unlock these lines. So they stay put based on the trajectory of the downside resistance, okay? And you can just see where the candles got room to run in this little bracket, this little pocket, we'll say. Okay, there's not a lot in here in this zone. And you can see our candles are literally trading sideways. Like, this breakout to me looks like it's going to freaking happen sideways, right? Rather than it coming from an upside move, it's as if it's just going to break out sideways and you're going to see it zip through this, all right? But let's just focus here real quick. So you see the pocket range. This is our last candle, okay? So again, you need to see candles close above the line fully. We don't want the resistance trend line slicing the candles in half. We cannot see that. It's weak confirmation. We want to see candles printing above this line in here. And that would be your first level to break, is this first resistance downtrend, okay? I would need to see that to get anywhere near close to the word excited, okay, to see that move happen and progress up here to the 556, which this one will be absolutely crucial to break, okay, even more so than this first phase here. All right, so that is our pocket range to trade in. It looks like Monday, I don't want to say Monday Monday or Tuesday, but if you look at the space in here, essentially what would have to happen, guys, is the price would have to descend pretty drastically from here into this zone, right? And then go sideways if it, is to use the rest of the remaining space in here, because you have your support and your resistance is converging at the end of the month here. As you can see, 2-2, 2-1, whatever you want to call it. You probably could fit a couple candles down into this point, but the way this is set up right now, you got to choose, right? It's like, if it's going to be a big red candle that prints on Monday and it comes down in here and you got little ones that form, fine, so be it. But I'm just showing you the structure and how much you have to trade. And right now, things are trading sideways. Okay, so we're close to seeing a breakout. It could be Monday, could be Tuesday out here, right? That we see candles start printing, which I assume will cause decent volatility to the upside, at least filling this range in here, right? I think you would get some nice progression for the rest of the week if you broke outside of this trend. If it doesn't have to break out and retest now, okay? And I've explained this process. It's very fucking annoying that you have to do this with these silly patterns, right? Is that when you get a candle to print out, you think you're in the clear, or, maybe it comes up to the pivot line, rejects, comes all the way back down and tests this area and then has to follow through. These are very, very annoying patterns. The way these sequences play out, very frustrating. But I just want you to understand and be prepared that just because you get candles printing out in here and you're breaking this doesn't mean it's like full-blown squeeze mode yet, or any of that shit that you're hearing on Twitter. That's not the case, guys. Get that shit out of your head, because that is not how I see this working out in the immediate sense, okay? We got to focus on this one step at a time. And sometimes you'll get this, right, where you get these pushes to various zones, right, where this is going to break out. Let's just say this was the breakout candle. You have your pivot 1 or your pivot line, and then you have your resistance 1. So it can happen at any stage here. You can reject here, come down to the line. You could come up here and then sell off and reject down here to the line. These are the tactics used to shake you out as well. So when you have these areas where this price action could get rejected, you're now seeing this phase by phase, step by step, okay? Inch by inch, you're seeing how this is going to play out potentially, all right, within these zones. It's all set up right in here to definitely fake people out, right? I'm not even surprised at this point if you come up to R1 and you get some kind of crazy full rejection, breaking our support lines down here into your support 1 pivot point, okay? I'm just showing this. I know it's kind of like confusing, but I'm telling you how this can play out with these initial breakout stages. It'll blow your mind, okay? It can definitely surprise some people, all right? So the fact that we're talking about pivot points, let's jump into the indicators without me going too deep on a rant with this entire structure stuff. You get the idea though. Break the first trend line and you move to the second. You break the next level, right? Like a video game. You beat one level, you go to the next level. Okay, so on and so forth until we get up here. It's 1, 2, 3 so far, from what I can see. But now you have your pivot points. Okay, this indicator, I told you guys on the daily, these are going to come to an end on January 30th. Okay, new ones will generate based on the price action, right? It's going to do its little average. It's going to have a little equation, right, that spits out new R1, R2, R3 targets and S1, S2, S3 targets on the bottom. Okay, the downside and the upside is going to be recalibrated, if you will. So what I want to see now, we have like 25th. I'm recording this on a Sunday. So we've got 5 days left or so, right, before our new pivots are going to be generated. Okay, so I want to see us print candles above this pivot line. Okay, this is your median line. Okay, if you get candles to print above it, it's likely indicating that pressure is going to form to the upside and you're going to start attacking these targets. Our first R1 being 215. If you get past 215, I have stated in the past that this incredible resistance line here will be broken in the process. All right, and again, the same rules apply. If you break, you know, up here, let's say we're just going through the prices and the motions here. You get through R1 and you're coming through it. You could stop at R2 and then retest this trend line here. This will not be surprising to me to see these jumpy 60-cent drops before continuation. I'm just telling you how the initial breakouts could happen. Okay, and again, a 2021 style situation is certainly on the table, but I am not banking on that like the rest of these YouTubers and these influencers online are telling you and trying to paint this picture, because I think they're going to fuck up a lot of people with that, because you're going to only be expecting one type of move, and it may determine how you approach it. If you start to see something that deviates from what they're telling you, that's where people panic, because now you're not prepared. So I'm showing you the breakout stages, all right? R1, R2, R3, absolutely cool if we can get through this, retest, come up to R3. Maybe there's a little bit of a breather on one of these areas of resistance. I don't have those drawn up yet, which we don't need them right now. But nonetheless, guys, once you get through that range, you're pretty much on your way to this next gap up. Like I said, granted, there's a little bit of chop in here, but there's not a lot like down here where you have these year-long resistances fucking holding you back. You don't have to deal with that. So those are our pivot point indicators right now. We get up to R3 at the 302. You're far and above both of these sticky downtrend resistance lines, okay? And that's the first thing we got to see happen. If we're seeing it as a total move, AMC breaking out of this thing, we've got to see that stage first, okay? So we covered our structure, we covered our pocket range and updated the candles. We have our pivot points out of the way. Let's look at the EMA bands in conjunction with this thing too. We look at our EMA bands, and again, tightly wound together. That's what you want to see for any kind of upside move, because you're very high, like your 200 EMA, and I even have like an awkward 255 in there, but you have the top end moving averages all in line with your lower ones, right? So when you get the crossovers down here, when this 9, again, we're on the daily, it hasn't even crossed over yet. We have not had the 9 cross to 27 for that chain reaction move that you get when these EMAs start crossing over. These are bullish crossover patterns, right? We haven't seen that yet. But when you start getting them, right, and they start closing, like look at this. When they start lapping over each other, look how close the 50, this is our 48 essentially, but 50 we'll call it. 48, 50 is right there. Your 100 EMA is right here. So when they start crossing over, guys, look at this. You get to the next level pretty quickly. You get to your next EMA bands. And again, you start getting the other higher end EMAs crossing over. Huge bullish volume is going to come in. All right. Those computers are going to start buying up the stock and you're going to start seeing huge price jumps. Okay. But they're all in line with each other. I guess that's the best way I can put it. They're very in close proximity, and you want to see that as part of this entire equation, right? Because again, you start getting those crossovers. It's crazy what could happen. All right. The potential is insane. So we have the EMA bands all out of the way. You guys see the visual there. Let's look at the VP fixed range tool. Okay. And I said this in the last video, that there's this nice little tool in here, fixed range volume profile. I'm going to take it from the channel range here, right? From the 408, the most immediate sense, right? From the June, we'll say 2025, because it's end of May. We'll ride this all the way down here to the actual macro bottom. And there you go. Your volume bar right here, the strongest volume is right here. So I told you in the last video, price action is going to gravitate towards this level. Now, that does not mean, it won't reject here. Does not mean that, it's just like going to be a super bullish thing because you are now headed towards this region, right? Let's just say from right here, you start getting these push-ups, you get the tests, and I'm just doing a rough little estimate. Let's say you work your way up here. Once you get to this level, guys, this is going to be a lot of chaos. I told you in the last video, there's going to be a lot of commotion in this range to trade because there's so much resistance. First of all, you're breaking your year-long resistance downtrend lines, okay? You're breaking those. You have R1 here in the pivot line structure. You have R2 that is sitting right near this volume node. So it's already going to be pretty tough, which I said would make sense structurally if you got a nice rip through this, that you take a breather right here, come down, test, and then try to get the push through, right? Because then price action is now above this bar. So what I said last time is this is how the VP works, right? When you're looking at this confirmation, if you have price action candles, right, pushing above this volume node. So like, let's just imagine that we got our candles pushing above this dotted blue line. When they are closing above that and you see that strength and the volume on the bottom that confirms, that means that you're on the way to push through that next stage, because look at the volume right here dying down. It's very weak bars for this price action to get right through. And these can happen really quick. You could jump right through this. Okay. I'm just trying to give you a little visual while I'm explaining this. It can be a little complicated to understand, but in the same vein, if the price action were to, let's say the price action breaks down. Let's say we get and I'm just going to do this like simple, like as if it's coming straight up. But let's say we get up here, have a strong move, but it can't break this volume bar right here. Then you come down. Okay. And if you cannot survive the retest right here and the bounce up, well, then you're going to continue to head down, because as you can see, the same way it works when you have candles printing above this bar, if you have candles printing below this bar, you're going to find that you're going to fall, right? There's like nothing here to catch you. Let's look at it that way. You don't have a nice big volume bar down here. Like let's say this bar was right here, you would have a hard time getting to the bottom. Okay. So I want you to understand that, because you have multiple indicators telling you pretty much what we're heading into. And it's going to be happening, I think, this week. We're going to get a decision this week if this move is going to be to the upside or to the downside. Okay. But it gives you an idea of where the chaos is going to happen, what we must break resistance-wise, if we're going to see continuation to that final downtrending resistance line up here. Okay, that I think is the most significant, we'll say. And real quick, with the pivot point indicators, before I go on to the other ones, you can see down here, S1 is sitting literally at 125, S2 is sitting at 95, and S3 is sitting at 35 cents. And also, I want to thank somebody, I can't remember your name in the comments, I'm so sorry, but they did correct me on the price target for, I believe it was Citigroup. It was not $1.20. I think I said $1.20. I think the guy in our chat confirmed that it was actually $1.30. Does it really matter? Not so much, I don't think, because your S1 is still sitting here at 125. And we've seen the wicks where it's 5 cents, guys, at this point. But this S1 could still be in play. Let me just say that your $1.25, your $1.30 price target could still be at play if they want to do a quick jolt down, bang, you hit this right here, and then maybe we get this violent push out. I just want to leave that on the table, because you never know, right? And we're saying that this could break up or down. We're not just going to be one side and say, oh, it's bullish, this is going to break to the upside. We have to play both scenarios out, because again, look, you have your pivot lines here to the downside as well, in equal formation with these on top too. So we have to treat it both ways. But I do think that would probably be the stopping point, S1. I could not imagine this going to 95 cents, but you never know, right? You never know. So I don't want to go too deep with that, but the VP tool definitely gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. And then we have our RSI and MACD. I just want to go over real quick before I close out the video. All right, let's get the volume fixed range out of there. And let's get the pivot points out of here real quick. All right. So what I say I wanted to do, RSI. So you look at the RSI, and this is why I'm kind of I'm leaning bullish on the breakout, because at least for the initial stage, like to get in this zone, because if you look at the RSI, it's not overbought, right? We're not in the overbought region in the high 70 range, 75 plus, where we're overheating. We're like still in the low end, right? 39, 40, we'll say on the RSI. Doesn't indicate to me that we're like, we've used all the gas in the tank. And I said last video that we have enough gas in the tank for the RSI to at least get us up to this touch point, right? Before maybe we come down and take a breather somewhere in this range, right? And then push through it. So I'm leaning that it's more bullish with the breakout, even if it is sideways and it just pops up and then comes down. I would be fine with that, right? If we get a little pop up and then it comes back down, I'd be fine with something like that testing. So RSI looks really good to me. I mean, you still got plenty of room to run, all right? Looking at our MACD, as we covered the RSI, let me see what MACD is looking like. Still pushing to the upside. You know, your volume bars are all pretty much equal. This one stands out a little bit, but you don't have anything significant where there's a big bar and then a huge sudden drop off. I don't see anything like that. You see the MACD line crossing over your signal line to the upside. This blue line here, which is your MACD line, has not crossed down yet over the signal line. If this line comes back down and crosses over, you will get a downside push. And I do think that $1.30 price target, $1.25, $1.20, whatever it is, guys, doesn't matter. It's a 10-cent range, is going to be tapped if this curls back over again. All right. And essentially, kind of like when you see a downtrend on a stock, right? Let's just say that this is the peak price of a stock and it starts dropping down. And this next push up, right? We call it a lower high. You can see on the MACD, right? Here's the most recent high, right? And it comes down, then it bounces up, lower high than this high. And so far, we would need to see, I think, the MACD line push past this to confirm that we're going to see that breakout. If we start curling down now, it would just confirm to me that there's a lower high than this initial one right here, right? As it was kind of pushing up in that zone. You get a lower high, and then hopefully that would be the last one, if that's the case. So very similar to how you would see the price action, right? As you've seen this whole move, as this range has fallen, look at this one here. Lower high. Almost, we're still lower high zone, so we need to see it push. But that would kind of confirm to me that this breakout now is happening, is if we get the push past this right here. That makes any sense. So just fading. So that is your MACD, guys. That is all of the indicators I wanted to cover with AMC. I guess I will say one thing as like a little bit of a bonus, okay, with this Hycroft situation, all right? Ignore these yellow lines. They were my zones, like that I saw in here, resistance zones. So they're a little bit rough, but I just wanted to show this as an example, okay? When you, and this is all the plays I'm covering, I keep seeing this pattern where you have this violent sell-off from its huge peak, just violent, rapid sell-off to the downside. I told you for AMC, it's very, very similar. Like, look at this structure here, right? You fall off a cliff, and I understand that HYMC also had its like little reverse split situation similar to AMC. But when you look at the structure and how violent that this comes down, right? Look at the way this pushes out when it breaks those ranges I've been talking about. Okay, I can just delete these because this is kind of annoying to look at. But this is what I want to show you, is that these are the potential playouts that you have happening with this stock, all right? And I understand it's different assets. I get all of that. But I'm telling you, I've seen these breakouts so many times. These like rounding bottom setups. They're just like almost so apparent when you see them and how they play out. And again, when you break those little box zones, this one's very high because there was like a little melt up here. And this might have been when that little split happened right here. I want to say, not too sure, but the fact that that pushed up that high could have been it. But when you look at something like this is exactly what I'm talking about, is when you finally get out of this region, when you finally get out of the box down here and here. Got to close this a little bit off. Give you a visual. When you finally get out of this damn thing, that's when you see these crazy parabolic moves. Just like that. This was the final point of resistance right here on the side, and it just fucking melted right through it, okay? Granted, I know there's a big-time investor who came in and pumped a lot of money in, right? very bullish on the whole situation. You have silver going up to like over $100. Gold's pushing like 5,000, I think, at this point. But I'm just telling you that these structures right here, very similar, and it's across all different types of assets that I've seen. Very similar patterns where you're in this consolidation flatline period, right, for so long, for years. And then you finally get to this upside movement and momentum. And when you get out of here, I mean, guys, the potential's off the charts right now. I mean, you see what's happening with this right here, $50, and it's coming up to its like cliff up here, right? Almost to the point of where it fell off, the last point of the fall off, right? Right up in here. So going back to AMC, I just show you this from a far out view. These kinds of stocks, I've seen this so often where there's a ginormous just meltdown, right? There's definitely volatile swings to the upside in the overall progression. But again, you're seeing the higher lows play out over and over again until there's just that giant waterfall sell-off, all right? So this is what I'm thinking is going to happen at some point or another if we can just get out of this area, right? I've shown you the box down here. And for AMC, it's almost really rapid because there's not a lot here. There's huge, giant bars descending down here that could just be covered in the same fashion to the upside like you're seeing with a stock like HYMC that you're seeing. And I'll just do this, guys, for those who want to really see the structures that are playing out. Let me just get this stuff out of the way. For Carvana, same thing, melting down, like, I mean, falling off a cliff. You get down in here in this little box region, right? You break out and you just start to ascend, right? Carvana's was a little bit more gentle to the upside. It had some little pullbacks here, but like you get the idea, this big rounding bottom bolt. And I mean, my God, $487, but the structures are all there. You're seeing this in multiple different plays. I go over real quick and I pop into Robinhood. Again, IPO, mega sell-off, right? 70-something dollars on the $85 on IPO, drops off down to $6. And then you're seeing today $154. I'm just telling you right now that these structures, they continue to pop up. I keep seeing the melt-ups. I keep seeing the breakthroughs. And I could just go on and on, guys. You know, like Rivian situation. Look at this. No matter what I show you, we're getting to the region where we start breaking out of these zones, okay? So just keep this in mind. You know, I'm going to take you through my whole thing. Unity, all right? I'm not covering Unity, but I'm just showing you today, like, these ranges that we're seeing here, these supports, resistances, when you would get to that final point, that final breakout region, you're going to see these all start melting up. That's my opinion. Okay, may not be 100% fact yet, but that's just what I'm seeing slowly creeping up, slowly playing out as we're rotating into the small caps. All right, so my rant is done. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys stay safe out there with this crazy snowstorm that we're getting. Please make sure you guys got your freaking heat on. Make sure you guys got your shovels, your snow blowers, all that good shit ready. All right, don't go to work Monday if it's going to risk your life. Your job is not worth that. So please be careful, all right? Please consider your safety. I will catch you guys in the update video later this week. If we get anything more that's drastic, I will update you guys daily. But we're not at that point yet until I see those moves. So everybody stay safe. Thanks for checking in. If you're new, subscribe, guys. Follow along. You're not going to want to miss what we have ahead. All right? You guys take care. I will see you in the next update video.